ancient land. On a windswept plain, an epic challenge awaits the drivers. Hi, and welcome to round 2 of the inaugural season of the Missed Apex Formula Renault 3.5 Championship as we venture to the renowned Grand Prix circuit of Silverstone. From the savage swings of Maggots Beckets to the crushing G's of Cops, from the agonies of Luffield to the torturous turn into Vale, it's time to find out who is ready for this brutal high-speed test of courage. To get us underway today, please give a warm welcome to your commentator, Chris Stevens.
The Missed Apex iRacing Formula Renault 3.5 Championship returns to Silverstone for round 2 in Season 7. We've raced here every season and have never been short of thrilling action. My name is Chris Stevens. Let's head trackside for the final 20 minutes of free practice. Currently 17 or so minutes left in this session before we head into the 10-minute open qualifying session. Tim Ellis is currently leading the standings on a 1:42.193, about a tenth of a second quicker than Stephen Williams and a further tenth than Gregoire Gomez. Not seen our usual contenders, the likes of Kyle Power and Danny Henney, that near the top of the times so far, but Danny Henney himself running into many issues this morning. So you will see his name on the standings, but he apparently has destroyed his steering wheel in a bit of a home incident and has raced down to Brad Philpott's house where he's using his rig and will be logged in as Brad Philpott. So where you see Brad, it will be Danny Henney behind the wheel of that car. So it will be Brad's car as well, but it will be Danny Henney at the wheel. So slightly unusual circumstances, and ones that will certainly have knocked his confidence going into this race, one where he really needs to make a mark on the championship, having had a very mixed day at the season opener at the Nürburgring, where he may have won the feature race but scored very poorly in the 2 sprint reverse grid races. But we'll get on to that a little bit later on. We've got a few new contenders in this race this weekend. The first one being Daniel Snorterland in car number 165. He's currently 4th fastest and in the silver class, but I have no doubt will be regraded if he decides to stick around. There he is. You can see the blue and white car of Snorterland there, and yes, as I mentioned, very rapid driver that we've seen so far this weekend, and yes, will likely get regraded if he decides to stick around for future races. Of course, this is round 2 of the championship of 6 rounds that we'll be racing this season. Our first season in the Formula Renault 3.5 car as well, and the season opener was a very good day, if I do say so myself. The racing was absolutely fantastic, and the quality of the driving was definitely up to standard after a few concerns going up from the F3 car to the Formula Renault 3.5, which is an F2 level car in iRacing. But all of those fears were hardly warranted. So if you weren't with us for the opening round at the Nürburgring, well, you missed one heck of a start to the championship. We can bring you up to speed now, though.
Season 7 of the Missed Apex iRacing series kicked off at the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit with a new, faster car, a bigger field than ever, and a promise of a hard-fought and entertaining series to come.
It's green at the Nürburgring. A brilliant start made by our pole sitter Kyle Power, who immediately has moved over to the right-hand side to try and cover off any attack, but Dobbelsberger going for the lead on the outside there.
From the very start, the racing was fast and furious right through the field.
Henney is forced to leave him some space. This is absolutely thrilling racing in this opening contest of the Formula Renault 3.5 Challenge. I don't know what we were worried about. This is brilliant stuff.
But the new cars proved to be a handful, even for the leaders.
Now when Dobbelsberger once again is right tucked up behind the rear wing of racing. Oh no, he's dropped it! He's absolutely dropped it and smashed into the barriers.
Danny Henney snatched the lead from Kyle Power when Lady Luck intervened.
The leader has to cut across the chicane because he found a slow car right in front of him, and Danny Henney goes through into the lead as a result of it.
Danny increased his lead throughout the pit stop phase, and and went on to score a well-deserved victory.
So here's Danny Henney, now 1.2 seconds clear of Kyle Power. He wins the first ever Missed Apex iRacing Formula Renault 3.5 championship race.
Race 2 saw Missed Apex's co-host Matt Trumpets lead off from pole position.
Trumpets with a slightly healthy margin going on to the straight for the first time, but Colin Ward's got to keep an eye on his mirrors here because Jose O'Donnell is within striking distance.
Not long after, Ward had a moment at turn 1, and O'Donnell slipped through into second and set off after Trumpets.
Through goes O'Donnell and through goes Hatton as well into third place.
Things weren't any easier down the field either.
And Henny has to go across the grass to try and avoid that. A big moment there for the three-time champion.
Up the front, Trumpets made the smallest of errors, but it was enough to let Jose O'Donnell through.
So a mistake there, he went up tight over the chicane. Is this an opportunity for O'Donnell? He goes clean through before they get to the final corner.
Back down the order, it turned into a Missed Apex panel battle.
So we've got three of the panel line astern here with Stuffy leading Power, leading Spanners. Not for much longer. Stuffy trying to get back up the inside. Is he going to go all the way around the outside? Surely not. Oh, what a brilliant move.
On the final lap, Sam Harper made his way past Trumpets to claim third, but it was Jose O'Donnell who hung on for victory.
Jose O'Donnell wins the first reverse grid race of the season.
In race 3, Matt Cook led off from pole position, but it was Kyle Power who blazed an early path through the field.
And Kyle Power, with the opening lap of the century, is up in 8th place from 15th on the grid.
Tim Ellis quickly took the lead as Matt Cook slipped back through the field.
Matt Cook, a mistake there into the chicane, slow off the corner, and it's an easy pass for Gregoire Gomez to get through into second place. So we have Tim Ellis leading from Gregoire Gomez, the gap 2.4 seconds.
Alexander Dobbelsberger went after Gomez, but an internet glitch almost spelled disaster.
Once again, it's Dobbelsberger in striking distance here. He's going for a move up the inside into the chicane, and an awful moment to have a blip there.
With 2 laps to go, Dobbelsberger caught Tim Ellis and took the lead.
And he's going for the lead now into turn 3. This is not where we normally see the passes being made, but he's going for it here. And Ellis trying to keep his nose in, but he can't stop Alexander Dobbelsberger, who goes through into the lead.
That left Ellis, Gomez and Power fighting it out for the minor places right up to the checkered flag.
Can Power get involved in this as well? Coming right down to the final corner. Meanwhile, Alexander Dobbelsberger gets out of that final corner, takes his first victory in the Formula Renault 3.5 Championship. Tim Ellis gets second, and Gregoire Gomez hangs on to the last spot on the podium. Let's take a look at the championship standings then. After the first round, it's Kyle Power, the reigning champion, who leads in the platinum standings by 9 points to Gregoire Gomez. Neither of them scored wins, but Power especially very consistent throughout the 3 races. Gomez had a few incidents, but was still able to score some decent points. Alexander Dobbelsberger, of course, the sprint race winner, as we just saw, he's third in the standings ahead of Tim Ellis. And then in the gold standings, we have Jose O'Donnell, who is currently leading by 9 points to Mark Greenhow. And Alex Smith, or Smithy, as he's now being known and has on the side of his car, was very quick, but ended up running into a few incidents and didn't quite have the weekend he really ought to have had at the Nürburgring. Maybe he can turn it around. He is currently the fastest gold driver in this free practice session. Moving on to the silver standings, we have Ryan Sedgwick, who is at the top of the standings by just 2 points to Ian Gill, who you may remember was something of a defensive hero in the sprint races at the Nürburgring. James Gill, my apologies, it's incorrect on my stat sheet there. And then into the overall standings, of course, it's Kyle Power who leads Gregoire Gomez and Alexander Dobbelsberger, Jose O'Donnell and Mark Greenhow in 6th and 9th overall, and Ryan Sedgwick and James Gill just sitting outside of the top 10 in their class battle. So about 8.5 minutes left in this free practice session. After this, we will head into the 10-minute open qualifying session. That'll set the grid for the feature race, which will be 16 laps and has one mandatory pit stop. And then we have 2 top 20 reverse grid sprint races that are 11 laps each. And plenty of points on offer for those who need to get their championship underway, including Danny Henny, including Stephen Williams as well, having missed the opening round at Nürburgring, and has been something of a bridesmaid for the last few seasons. Always been very quick and an outside shot for the championship, but of course last season ended up missing the final round because of a holiday clash, and that meant he didn't really get a chance to fight for the title, and he's already missed the opening round here as well. So this is the first time we'll see him in the Formula Renault 3.5, and he has been able to take the drop score because of that, but it means pressure's on for the rest of the season. Right, let's take a closer look at this 5.891 kilometre Silverstone circuit, one of our absolute favourites. We've raced here since the Formula Renault 2-litre days, and we've seen many a thrilling race at this circuit as well. And Spanners is able to guide us around this track.
Hello, Spanners here. I wanted to share with you a somewhat chaotic practice lap from our FP1 session earlier in the week. And it's not just because I can't demonstrate the perfect lap around here. I actually wanted to give you a taste of what it was like getting to grips with these cars around this circuit. And as you're about to see, even getting off the line is something of a challenge. So I used completely the wrong technique to get off the line here, and I'm struggling to get the power down. The pack disappears and I need to sort that out before race day. But at least I get to take the ideal line through turn 1. So through Abbey, I've got my choice of line, but other cars have had to go 2 abreast, and that leads to the carnage you're seeing there. So now we approach the village, and that's our first big overtaking opportunity of the lap. I leave room on the inside here, and you also have to leave room and account for extreme concertina effect as we go around the loop, and then we head into the Aintree Kink down the Wellington Straight. This is an absolutely great overtaking opportunity, and someone's even managed to spin on the straight. So, do I Carlos Sainz it down into Brooklands? Of course I do. I head down the inside of Callum, but now I'm stuck behind the mighty Mike Stoner with Andrew Sexton up ahead. Can I hang it round the outside of Luffield? It's a fool's errand, and I end up losing out to all 3 cars. So now we can discover, can you go 2 abreast in these cars in Copse? I'm not sure because I completely dip out here. I've taken the safe way out, but that has surprised Mr. Anderson behind me, who didn't expect me to basically park at Copse. I meant to do that. Going through Maggots and Beckett's, you're definitely better off in single file. I'm not a full pace, but it's flat out left. It's flat out right. Now we just brush the brakes onto the inside, and we're lining up for the final right-hander to then plant it all the way down the world-famous hanger straight towards Stowe. Slipstream will be essential in this part of the race, and this will be a prime place to use your DRS. Into Stowe, a quick jab of the brakes, early apex, and then you're on the acceleration very early. This is a place where you might lose your 1Xs or get a slowdown penalty. Then it's a big braking zone into the final 2 corners. Vale and Club. Little lift to set yourself up. Wave at the carnage on the right-hand side and avoid the car that's sideways on the straight. And that is a very missed apex lap of Silverstone.
Final few minutes of free practice then. This is a look at Alexander Dobbelsberger, who of course won the sprint race at the Nürburgring, as he heads out of Chapel and onto the Hanger Straight, currently 9th fastest in this session. And I expect we'll see a little bit more from him in qualifying. Had 2 very difficult races in the first 2 races, but brought it all back together again so that he could have a good start for race number 3 through the Vale chicane and on to the Sir Lewis Hamilton Straight, as it's known now. And still Tim Ellis leading the way in this session by just over a 10th of a second. I've been keeping a close eye on Gregoire Gomez as well, who has been really on the ragged edge at the moment in 3rd place, and has dropped the car a couple of times, must be said, but he's maybe looking to get all the mistakes out the way early on before it counts. Look how close to the grass they end up going on the way into Cop's corner, not leaving any inch of usable surface available to him. And driving one of these very high downforce machines through a sequence like Maggots and Beckett's absolutely fantastic. Now, in terms of the racing, I mean, these guys are pretty closely matched, but now I wonder how it's going to fare in the race when we have a pretty big slipstream from these cars, but the turbulent air is going to make the passing really quite difficult, perhaps. Now, there is DRS to take into account as well. They have 8 uses of that throughout the race. And now here's a look at Danny Henney. He has got back in his car, luckily. So whatever issues he was having on that account, he's been able to resolve. And he will be in his traditional colours and count, by the looks of it, for this race. But still on Brad Philpott's rig after damaging his own wheel earlier tonight. And when I say earlier tonight, I mean literally, what was it, 5:30? We got the message, and he had to drive about 2 hours over to Brad's place and make sure that he was set up and ready to go for this race. It's been a very frantic few hours for the 3-time champion of this series, both in the Formula Renault and the Formula 3 as well. And his time, I'm sure Danny's looking to get back up into it as well. Bradley Philpott will still be seeing on the standings there, because Danny did use his account at one point, but shouldn't end up being part of qualifying. So you can pretty much ignore that. And yeah, Danny, interesting line on the old pit straight there. Clearly, still trying to get used to Brad's rig as well. It is incredibly advanced. And also, one thing he's got to get used to is the triple monitor setup rather than using VR like he always does. So, a lot of adaptation in a very short space of time for Danny Henney tonight. Final minute of this free practice session before we head into qualifying, and the checkered flag comes out as Henney makes his way down the hangar straight. Once more, currently 14th fastest in this session. This is going to be big pressure on him. And there we saw the effect of the slipstream there. Maybe a bit of DRS in there as well, but that's how powerful it is. It wasn't quite close enough to make a move, though, on the car ahead of him. But certainly, that was a very good display of just how powerful that slipstream is. And it always has been in these cars, and specifically at this circuit as well. So hopefully it means we won't be short on any big action in the races. Checkered flag about to come out in this session, and we will move into the 10-minute open qualifying. Now, this is not like the iRacing officials, if you've taken part yourself in any of the official racing. It's a open session, so you'll see here as Dobbelsberger leads the cars out of the pits. They all go out on track together, and they have 10 minutes to set the fastest time possible, so not limited to 2 flying laps like in the officials. So this means that they have to either try and find some clear space, or maybe get a cheeky toe off of someone down the straight. The amount of dirty air that these cars seem to produce would indicate that the former would be slightly more favourable. There's the reigning champion and the championship leader, Kyle Power, in that familiar green Venom Works car, the sister car to Danny Henney, which is the red Venom Works car. And we're seeing that name pop up on a few more cars as Henney's been coaching a few drivers during the off-season as well, particularly getting up to speed with the Formula Renault 3.5 car, which is new for this season as well. And obviously Henney coming out behind his teammate effectively. As well on track. Dobbelsberger about halfway around the lap now. He's heading through Maggots and Beckett, so he'll be the first to be on a flying lap. There he is now. And this is the important stage here as we ride on board, as he gets his tyres and brakes and everything up to temperature as well. They're in 6th gear down the hangar straight. Still well over 120 miles an hour at the apex of Stowe, which is absolutely brilliant. And now the exit out of here going to be absolutely crucial as he leads onto the pit straight and starts his first flying lap of qualifying. Now this will be interesting because the DRS would normally be used here, but you can't really go through Abbey flat out with the DRS open, so they haven't actually been able to use it on the pit straight, I don't think. Remember, it's absolutely unlimited in terms of its uses or location in qualifying, and it's still unlimited in terms of its location in the race, but limited to 8 uses per race as well. As we see that rear wing of Dobbelsberger. Very hard to actually see if the DRS is open, but maybe just that slight slot gap that you can see there. That's the DRS in use. I'm sure he'll get on the button again as he heads out of Luffield. First sector looking good. It's a 31 flat in the first sector, which is the fastest of everyone else so far. Oh, is that just a touch too wide at Cop's corner, though? He won't have triggered the slowdown penalty, but will he have picked up a 1x for that? No, he got away with it. So really fine margins here for Alexander Dobbelsberger on his first flying lap in qualifying. Heading down the hangar straight now. He'll be on the button again, on board with the Ace of Spades car. 39.8 in the second sector as well. So looking good so far on this lap for Dobbelsberger. And we'll see when everyone else gets over the line how it fully compares. But it seems like everyone else is taking their time to get up to speed so far. But across the line now for Dobbelsberger, and it's a 1:42.786. That is the benchmark time so far, or 42.803, sorry. As my timing screen updates eventually. And Stephen Williams has come in a few hundredths off of that, but Gomez has gone to the top of the times in the meanwhile as well, a 42.741, 600 clear of Dobbelsberger, and Williams about a tenth or so, or just under, off of Dobbelsberger as well. Drums were in 4th at the moment as well. Danny Henny's first time, good enough for 9th at the moment. Here's a look at Richard Spanner's ready, another driver who's had to hightail it over to make it in time for qualifying. So these will be his first flying laps of the day, but of course has taken part in plenty of practices throughout the week. But just got off the call with Mr. Joe Sayward and his live audience. And remember, we do have plenty of content coming up on our main Missed Apex podcast channel. We may well be into the F1 off season, but no shortage of content from us. And we've just today uploaded our interview with the stars of the Gran Turismo movie as well, including Mr. Jan Mardenbray himself. So do go and check that out. It was a very interesting conversation that Spanner's had with the chaps at the first UK media screening of the movie. And I'm sure there'll be a Missed Apex outing to go and watch it when it's released in cinemas as well. Spanners heads out onto the hangar straight. He's not far ahead of Danny Henny there. Just saw him in the background. That's Snorterland there. He's on his first qualifying appearance, currently 13th fastest. Gomez unable to lower the benchmark that time around and actually exceeded track limits on his previous lap. So no improvement in the benchmark. Dobbelsberger did improve, and only to get within 14 thousandths of a second of Gomez's time though. And Tim Ellis still in 3rd by 300ths of a second, so currently 44 thousandths of a second separates the top 3. It could not get much closer than that. This is Tim Ellis in that familiar blue and yellow car, just coming out of Luffield. Gomez, next car, up the road as well. He's currently 3rd fastest. He's got a 10th or so on Williams in 4th place. As Danny Henny, meanwhile, has improved to 5th. And he's within 0.2 of pole position at the moment. So after all the drama that Danny Henny has had in the last couple of hours or so, he's still only within 0.2 of a second. But look at that, he's got a car in front of him. Is that going to compromise the end of his session? We're already coming up to the closing stages of qualifying with 3 minutes left on the clock as we ride on board with the 3-time champion through Maggots and Beckett's. And I'm sure at some point in the not too distant future, he's going to start to get affected by that turbulent air off the car in front of him. We'll be getting a great tow here as Dobbelsberger improves and sets provisional pole as we watch Henny. Now that was perfect for him. Got the perfect tow on the hanger straight and not too compromised. So Dobbelsberger now fastest. Gomez didn't improve again on that previous lap, so it's still Dobbelsberger on provisional pole position, but I dare say Henny could well put in a good time here. Stephen Williams now goes top, 42.3. That's some 3.5 tenths quicker. Where does Henny go in the meanwhile as well? He doesn't go anywhere because he exceeded track limits on that last lap. He remains in 5th. So here's Stephen Williams, the provisional pole sitter. Less than 2.5 minutes left in this session, and it looks like Williams is going for a cool-down lap on this occasion. And we'll give it the beans for the last flying lap of the session. This is Sam Harper coming across the line now, currently 6th fastest, and it looks like he didn't improve on that last lap either. He did in time, but not in position. And we see Luca Harrison there in 9th place. He's joined us. Of course, multiple race winner in the Formula 3 championship that we ran. But this is the first time we'll see him out in the Formula Renault 3.5. Right, leaders are coming back over the line now. And let's see again if we can... if there's any change in the order. Gomez again did not improve on that last lap. He missed out by about half a tenth of a second as Williams now comes over the line to start his final flying lap of qualifying. He's done that cool down lap, some 5 seconds off the pace in the end, and now going again and keeping the tyres in the window. Absolutely crucial. So no change in the order, or certainly in the top 6 anyway. So it's still Williams by around 3.5 tenths of a second on provisional pole to Dobbelsberger. We're watching Gomez, and here's Dobbelsberger now. Provisional front row for him, coming through Copse Corner for the last time in this session. And how are the sector times looking? Pretty good, actually, for Dobbelsberger, but still a little down, actually, on Gomez, who seems to be having the most competitive lap so far in this flying lap. But Stephen Williams has improved again in the first sector, so it's really coming down to the wire, getting a cheeky little tow there off of the slow car on the inside. I think that was Lucas Raskovitz heading up towards Stowe. Would have been a slightly minimal impact, but around there for the last time. And I believe Stephen Williams is, he's not far behind him as well. So what's going to happen with Gomez? Dobbelsberger's gone over the line in the meanwhile, and he hasn't improved. He was 2 tenths off his best. So what's Gomez got in his pocket? He comes across the line now for the last time. Checker flag is now out. And he did improve, but he exceeded track limits again. So still his first flying lap of the 42.741 is the one that stands. And he remains third. Here comes Stephen Williams. He's had provisional pole position so far. He didn't improve on that last lap, but I don't think he needs to, because it doesn't look like anyone else is going to be able to mount a challenge to Stephen Williams' pole time. Danny Henny didn't improve in the end of that session either. He remained in 5th place. Now, the question is, did Dobbelsberger get over the line in time for another flying lap? I don't think he did, because he slowed down on this one. So it was just, double checking because the timer was still on him there. But that's a great effort there from Dobbelsberger. Provisional front row, and the gold class pole position going to Lucas Raskovitz there in 7th place. And Daniel Snorterland, the silver class pole on his debut in the championship in 12th overall there. So Stephen Williams bagging his first pole position of the season. I'm going to have to go back and check the stat sheet and see when was the last time we saw him on pole position. I don't think he never had a pole position in the F3 Cup. That is quite surprising in some ways because he is incredibly fast. But in other ways, not so much, because the qualifying was usually dominated by Luca Harrison and Danny Henny in the F3 Cup. So that's the first pole position for an awfully long time there for Stephen Williams. I think you'd have to go right back to the Formula Renault 2 Liter days of our championship, which unfortunately I don't have the stats for. So very, very impressive performance there by Stephen Williams. And we'll now go to the grid for the feature race. Remember, it's 16 laps, one mandatory stop for fuel to take as well. And it will be Stephen Williams who lines up on pole position for this feature race. Alongside him will be Alexander Dobsberger, already won a race so far this season. Then Gregoire Gomez, second in the championship. Then Tim Ellis, Danny Henny and Sam Harper. That's the top 6. Gold pole position went to Lucas Raskowitz. Then Kyle Power, the reigning champion and championship leader, starts in 8th, ahead of Alex Jonesma and Luca Harrison. That's the top 10. Alex Smith and the debutant Daniel Snorterland. Then Mark Greenhalgh, Tara Tylus, Jose O'Donnell, the gold championship leader, ahead of Scott Tuffy and David Hatton. Then comes Peter Shilcock, Colin Ward and Richard Spanners ready in the top 20. And then Andrew Sexton and Matt Cook line up on row 11. Adrian Clark and Ivan Anderson behind them, ahead of James Gill and Sam Watley. And Matt Trumpets lines up 27th, ahead of Nick Alexander, Sean Bennett and Alexandros Merifkani in the top 30. John Langan and Miguel Morland ahead of Richard Molden and Mike Stoner. Then comes John Cox, Stephen Taylor, Daniel Cullum, Neil Singh and Barry Kemp will complete the 39 car field, because remember, Brad is not actually joining us for this race. And you see we've got so many cars, they have to line up on the final corner as well just to make them fit on the grid. But 16 laps await these drivers for the feature race in round 2 of the Missed Apex iRacing Formula Renault 3.5 Championship. And it will be Stephen Williams versus Alexander Dobsberger on the front row of the grid. Red lights are on, engine notes rise, and we're about to get underway for race 2 at Silverstone. Green flag is waved and Stephen Williams leads the field away. Dobsberger feeling the need to come and cover off Tim Ellis right away as well, because he's jumped Gregoire Gomez at the first corner. So Ellis up a place already. Williams having to go defensive into the braking zone for Village, but no real challenge from Dobsberger. Ellis still having to get his elbows out there as Gomez is trying to reclaim that podium position as he left the door open there to Danny Henny to try and attack him as well. Kyle Power has made up places behind them as well. He's side by side with Sam Harper in the background there, heading towards Brooklands for the first time. No challenge from Dobsberger once again. Danny Henny right on the back. Oh, as Kyle Power there made contact with Sam Harper. He may well have done, because Harper's gone flying off the circuit. Here's a replay of it heading into Brooklands for the first time. And it looks like there was contact there as Harper was trying to get round the outside of the reigning champion. Has that left him with damage? He could well come under pressure now, because he's been falling down the order. He's down in 12th place now, so a disaster start for the championship leader. The race leaders, meanwhile, making their way through Maggars and Beckett's for the first time. Williams with a slightly healthy margin there of 0.6 of a second as they head on to the Hangar Straight for the first time. And Dobsberger surely is going to have his mirrors full of Tim Ellis by the time they get down to Stowe. Riding on board with Ellis now. He made up a place at the start, and he is right in that slipstream with Dobsberger, looking down the inside of Stowe Corner. Wasn't quite close enough to mount the challenge there. Oh, he's been hit! He's been hit by Gregoire Gomez! Unbelievable! And Gomez has immediately dived into the pits. So what happened there? Did Ellis get it wrong? Did he slow up? Oh, he lost the back end. Had to check up, and Gomez went ploughing straight into the back of him. And that has undone all the good work that Tim Ellis did on the opening lap. And Gomez, meanwhile, has come into the pits, presumably to, well, get his mandatory stop out of the way, but also repair any damage as well. So that has put Danny Henny up into the podium placings, and he's got Alex Jonsma for close company and Lucas Raskovic in 5th place at the moment as well. But here are the leaders. The big gap now to Danny Henny in 3rd place, and Dobbelsberger and Williams here could well try and pull away from the pack. Here comes Jonsma though for 3rd place, down the inside into Brooklyn's corner. There we see the move being consolidated. So Alex Jonsma there up into 3rd place ahead of Danny Henny. And remember, Henny racing in very unfamiliar circumstances, having had to abandon his own rig with a problem, some damage to his wheel. He's driven down to Brad Philpott's place in the last couple of hours and gotten up to speed on Brad's rig, racing on the triple monitors rather than VR like he's used to as well. Very alien conditions here for Danny Henny, and he's under big pressure in the opening stages of this race. He's just lost the podium place to Alex Jones for that. You see in that black and sort of neon yellow trimmed car. And look at this for the gold class lead there as well, which is 5th place overall. Alex Smith getting up on the inside of Lucas Raskovic into Stowe corner. That's the gold class lead being exchanged there. And Smithy trying to make up for a slightly disappointing Nürburgring, where he was certainly one of the faster drivers in the gold field, but didn't quite utilise the pace that he had. That 3 of 17 as the leaders make their way round Village and the Loop, and Jonsma still under pressure from Henny, so he's not pulling the pin and going just yet. Had a very good exit though out of the loop, and it seems to be in a good spot now. This would be interesting if Danny Henny were to end up coming under attack from one of his former students in the form of Alex Smith. I believe he's had training from Danny Henny in the meantime. Heading out of Luffield now. And that lead gap we can see there is still just hovering around that half-second, 0.6 of a second mark as well there. Dobbelsberger, I'm sure, will be really, really pushing to stick within that dirty air of race leader Stephen Williams. And now, something we haven't mentioned yet is, of course, the condition of the tyres as well. Very easy to overheat the Michelin rubber that these cars race on, and taking an earlier stop may well be favourable, actually. I'm speaking to some of the drivers. They tend to sort of start going off their best around lap 8 by the sounds of it. Top 3 are making their way down to the Vale chicane for the last time. It's Colin Ward in his very familiar Rothmans Williams livery, looking at the back of Jose O'Donnell for 13th place. As Alex Jonsma does the fastest lap of the race in clean air for the first time. He is 1.7 seconds back from Dobbelsberger in second, but he's bringing Henny with him, essentially. They're quite close together, and that was very close for the lead. This is the closest Dobbelsberger has been all race, and I'm sure was hoovering up the toe from Stephen Williams all the way down the pit straight and through the flat-out right-hander of Abbey as well. Maybe well, I would say a DRS use, but you can't really use it through Abbey. I've seen drivers trying to use it, and they have what we would call a code brown moment, for sure. But yeah, Dobbelsberger here, not giving up the chase at all. Stephen Williams coping with the pressure beautifully. As we head through Copse once again, it's lap 4 of 17. Stephen Williams had the lead from pole position, and Dobbelsberger's been following him very closely throughout the race so far. And we'll see as they head out of Chapel, the left-hander coming up. There'll be another opportunity here. That gap just spreading out once again to about half a second. Now, is Dobbelsberger using the DRS here, I wonder, as they head down the hanger straight once again? You see the power of the slipstream there. Very, very fast, and did close in, but unable to mount a challenge. Maybe not using the DRS on that occasion. As we see that battle for third place as well, still going gun-ho as well, and they are closing down on the leaders, actually. The gap's come down to 1.3 seconds now. So another 0.4 of a second being eaten out of that top two by Johnsma, Henny and Smithy there, who have also built a bit of a gap to the cars behind them as well. And that would be Luca Harrison in 6th place. Obviously, Johnsma getting it a little bit wrong into Village there. There's that next train of cars we were talking about, led by Harrison. He's been working his way up the order, on board with Raskovitz, second of the gold runners at the moment. Looking at the back of Harrison, who has been a championship contender. Actually getting past was Raskovitz by Daniel Snorterland, the silver class leader. So Snorterland's got an awful lot more pace than his grid position was certainly representing. And there we see Kyle Power there in 9th place on the recovery after that first lap contact with Sam Harper into Brooklands. And right now he would be losing out in the championship. Luckily, the person second in the championship, Gomez, had contact himself only a lap or so later and ended up coming into the pit. So it's actually Doppelsberger sitting pretty at the moment in terms of the championship as the second place car. But yeah, Kyle Power will certainly be looking to rise up the order before the end of this race. Still plenty of opportunities for the reigning champion to make his way up the order. Heading into the Vale chicane once again. Leaders are coming across the line in the meanwhile. Obviously, Power getting in just a little bit deep there into the Vale chicane. And trying to keep it a tighter line there through the exit of the corner as well. And Snortland here might have to watch his mirrors, because it looks like Raskovitz fancies a run into Village. Didn't get it done though. Snortland actually went a little bit deep into the corner. On board with Raskovitz once again. Got passed by Snortland a lap ago. Into the corner we're heading up to now, actually. And now, can he reclaim that 7th place spot? That is the question. That train of cars not closing in on the podium battle ahead of them either. That gap remaining at around 1.2, 1.3 seconds. Great train of cars squabbling for 6th place here. And speaking of that podium battle, actually, the leaders did start to gap the 3rd place train of cars as well. Gaps back up to 1.6. And Henny having to just follow in the wheel tracks of Johnsma in the meanwhile, as well as they head through Maggots and Beckett's once again. Just keeping an eye on that lead gap as well. It's still hovering at around the 6/10 of a second mark as well. We'll be closing up on the hanger straight for sure. See Henny unable to make an impression on Johnsma so far in this battle for 3rd place. Remember, Henny does prefer to use the DRS uses a little bit later in the race, likes to save them up, particularly for the in-lap and the out-lap during the pit stop phase as well. Remember that the whole complexion of this race could well change if some of the drivers start to struggle with overheating tyres, because once they start to overheat and you lose grip, and then you make a mistake, you slide the car and the tyres overheat even more, and then you end up in a bit of a toboggan, really. And certainly these cars have proven to be very difficult to drive at the best of times, and this is the first time we'll really see any kind of tyre management, because it was fairly innocuous at the Nürburgring. Apologies, by the way, if you're seeing any breakups or loss of connection there. Some technical difficulties in the Missed Apex production, but hopefully we'll have them sorted very soon. Thanks for sticking with us in the meanwhile, and do make sure that you are subscribed to our channel. We just hit the milestone of 1,000 subs on this second channel, so thank you very much. Be sure to like this stream as well. It helps us out more than you could possibly know. And also make sure you're subscribed to our main channel, Missed Apex Podcast, where we have our race reviews, the Belgian Grand Prix last weekend, of course, and even though it's the summer break, no shortage of content over there as well. As we see, look at this here, Daniel Snorterland, maybe his debut in the championship, but he is really sticking it to some very big names in this championship. So he looks up the inside into the Vale chicane on Luca Harrison for 6th place there, but no way through on that occasion. Oh, I spoke too soon because Snortonens lit up those rear tyres, had to scamper across the grass and lost plenty of places there. His replay, we were on board the nose cam at the time, just lights up the rear Michelins and has to take to the grass. Very well saved, but that has dropped him to 10th place at the moment. Now the leaders are closer than they have been all race long at the moment. The gap just 0.2 of a second as they head down the hanger straight on lap 8 of 17. Is this the moment here for Dobbelsberger into Brooklyn's corner? No, it is not. But certainly he took a chunk out of race leader Stephen Williams on that last lap, some 0.3 of a second as well. And it is very much game on at the moment. And we see Jolsma and Henny are not far behind as well. They've started to gap Alex Smith in the meanwhile as well. He's about 1.8 seconds now behind Henny in 5th place. So it looks like the podium places are going to be settled between these 4 drivers. And we've still got the pit stop to take into account as well. Through Maggots and Beckett once again. Now, so another opportunity here for Dobbelsberger. He was much closer than he was on previous laps, and if he's been using a bit of DRS as well to try and close down that gap, he may well have a challenge here. No, definitely not into Stowe Corner. Not proving quite as powerful there, the slipstream perhaps, than it is on the other straight. Stephen Williams coping with this pressure absolutely beautifully. No stranger, of course, to success in our iRacing series. He's a 2-time race winner in the F3 Cup. And they're the 3 seasons that we ran with that car. And obviously a front runner in the Formula Renault 2-litre days as well. He's been racing with us since the MX5 Cup days, right back to the first ever season of Missed Apex iRacing competition. And of course a karter as well, a very capable karter in real life as well. Has seen multiple successes, and he is putting all that experience to good use in the virtual world tonight. Very close once again. Let's see what's happening slightly further down the order. We see Matt Trumpets has come into the pits. Meanwhile, there he is. There he is, re-emerging onto the track in 25th place at the moment. He was having a very strong Nürburgring campaign as well. In fact, did he end up on the podium? No, I don't believe he did. He's not on my stat sheet, but certainly a very good performance there from Matt Trumpets in that opening race of the season. And now look at this, Dobbelsberger closing in once again, closest he's been at Stowe Corner, and Henny looking very close to Dronsma as well for 3rd place as well. So suddenly these 2 battles have heated up a little bit on board with Henny as they break for the Vale chicane. Closes right up under braking. That'll be Brad's very good brake pedals he's got there. It's like hitting a brick wall, honestly, the brakes that Philpott has got. And that is fastest lap of the race from Danny Henny as well to close down that gap. Now, is this the pit stop window starting to open here? Does Henny smell an opportunity to jump back up onto the podium placings? Absolutely nose to tail between these guys and the leaders once again. The leaders very, very close together as well, heading down the hanger straight. Dobbelsberger may well be challenging for the lead. This is the first time Williams has had to go defensive into Brooklands. He's been able to hang on to it. Had to cover the inside, though. That was the first real challenge we've seen from Dobbelsberger. Jolsma was able to hang on to that 3rd place spot as well. But Dobbelsberger is really just able to sit well within that turbulent air there. And now surely he's going to have to take quite a big lift into Copse Corner there, right under the rear wing of Stephen Williams. Through Maggots and Beckett. If he can stay this close through these next sequence of corners, he may well be able to challenge him into Stowe Corner. This is lap 10 of 17. These guys are yet to take their pit stop as well, of course. But look at this. Yeah, Dobbelsberger's much closer out of Chapel this time around. We follow them down the hangar straight once again. Is he using DRS? Is Williams going to have to cover the inside? Just not enough straight there for Dobbelsberger to try and find a way through. But this is an incredible battle that we're seeing unfold here. And it's becoming a four-car train very quickly because Jonsma is well within a second of these guys now. Still none of them yet to blink in terms of the pit stop. I think Car Power may well have been in. In fact, he has, because he's dropped down to 13th place as well. In the meanwhile, behind Spanish Ready, actually. This is back with that battle for 5th place. Sorry. 5th place, sorry, because Luca Harrison's made his way through on Alex Smith in the meanwhile. Now, leaders coming out of Aintree once again, and still very, very close. Now, Williams had to defend the inside last time around. He's done the same again, this time into Brooklands, and Dobbelsberger can't find a way around the outside there. Oh, that was Henny trying to get round the outside for 3rd place, and he's done it. Henny, with a move around the outside of Brooklands, gave him the line into Luffield, and Danny Henny finally makes his way through into 3rd place. This is how he did it. Oh, so it's actually on the inside, and must have run out a little bit wider than Johnson. Johnson was trying to get the cutback there. But Henny managed to claim the high ground for Luffield as well. And Johnson still trying to find a way through, actually, to get back past. But the leaders now making their way onto the hangar straight once again. And Dobbelsberger not looking close enough this time. Dropped a few tenths of a second through the Maggots-Beckett's complex. Now, I wonder if Jonsma can have a run at Henny as well. No, he cannot. Now are any of them going to pit this time around? Still no sign of entering the pit lane there. It's lap 11 of 17. I think what we're about to be lap 12, actually. I think what we're seeing here is the classic case of drivers tell me things and then do the exact opposite of what they actually told me when it comes to the race. So leaders coming through the new loop section. Dobbelsberger has been very, very good in this section of track, it must be said. He's closed right up to Williams on each occasion, but still not as close as he was last time around when he made Williams go defensive into Brooklands corner. That's fastest lap of the race for Gregoire Gomez in the meanwhile as well. He's starting to come back up the order, having pitted on what was it, the 1st or 2nd lap. He's in 14th place at the moment, but this lead battle keeping us absolutely enthralled. Once again, there'll be 5 laps to go when they come across the stripe. Through Copse Corner. Absolutely brilliant in one of these cars. Completely flat. Oh, Henny spun! Danny Henny has gone up from 3rd place there, lost it into Copse Corner. Was there contact there, perhaps? We're about to see a replay. Oh, it doesn't look like there was contact. He's just dropped it himself. Good avoidance there from Dronsma. Oh, and Henny did make the barriers as well. Absolute disaster for him. He's down in 6th place now. Or maybe he did just avoid the barriers, perhaps. But down in 6th place at the moment. Absolute disaster for him. He needed to get his championship challenge underway, and this was not the way to do it. Leaders coming back around to click off another lap. There's 5 laps to go. Lap 13 of 17. Still none of them have been into the pits yet. In fact, we haven't seen any action in the pits from the top 15 at all. So they're leaving it very late in this one, bearing in mind they were telling me that the tyres were going to be absolutely overheated and ruined by lap 8. We've gone much further than that. Now, of course, this battle between Smith and Raskovitz, this is now for 4th place and the gold lead as well. And remember, Smithy here last season, or the season before that, was fighting for an overall podium in one of the sprint races, the reverse grid races, back in the F3 car. And was having a cracking battle on that particular day. He's having another one here, this time for the gold lead and 4th place overall with Lukas Raskovitz, a former class champion as well, won the silver class a couple of seasons ago. On board with Raskowitz now as they head through Copse Corner. Nothing separating them, only a couple of tenths of a second. And right now it is it's O'Donnell leading the class standings, but both of these guys trying to make up for it. Raskowitz third in the Gold Driver standings at the moment, and Alex Smith certainly one of the fastest in the championship. As I see now, the race leader, Stephen Williams, has come into the pit lane. Second place man, Alexander Dobbelsberger, has stayed out. So if he's got any DRS left, he will certainly be deploying it now, and that may well be why, because there's traffic in front of them as well. So if he doesn't catch it this lap, then he will want to come in on this lap so we can avoid the traffic. Of course, the back markers played a very crucial role in who won the feature race at Nürburgring. Kyle Power was leading the way right up until they came across a back marker at exactly the wrong place at exactly the wrong time and allowed Danny Henney through into the lead. Stephen Williams back out onto the racetrack. He's come out in 5th place and in good clean air as well. Stationary time of 4.3 seconds. Smithy came in to the box as well on that lap. Danny Henney has been in as well. And I would say crucially that Stephen Williams has come out ahead of Gregoire Gomez as well by some 9 seconds. So Williams has got about 2.5 seconds up to Scott Tuffy, or Stuffy, that you may well know him as on YouTube. So there we see Stephen Williams has come in. Gomez, of course, came in on the opening lap. Mark Greenhow has come out ahead of Smithy there. So that is for position, crucially. We're yet to see stops from the top 4. So Greenhow, for Greenhow, that's the gold class lead that he's battling for with Smithy. And we'll see where Raskowitz comes out in the middle of that as well, as the race leader, Alexander Dobbelsberger, now into the pits as well. So this is going to be the crucial little puff of smoke there as he tried to get it down to the limiter, 80 kilometers an hour. Must feel like an eternity going down what is one of the longest pit lanes on the calendar. And it'll be right down the end of the pit lane as well for Dobbelsberger. There's Dronsma into his box. Now, where is Stephen Williams? This is the big question. This could well be the race lead. He's coming down the pit straight now. Dobbelsberger out into the pits. I think he may well just come out ahead. They're going to be side by side at the very least. Williams just hanging on to the lead by the skin of his teeth, and they are as close now coming out of the pits as they were when they came into them. And Alex Dronsma right there with them as well. 1 second covers the top 3 at the moment. And actually, in all of that, Gregoire Gomez, despite his early collision, has come out in 4th place. Look at that. So he's been absolutely pounding in the lap times to do that, making his way up the order, and has come out in 4th place. He's some 9 seconds behind the top 3, but come out ahead of Mark Greenhow, who's maintained the gold class lead ahead of Smithy and ahead of Raskowitz as well. And Danny Henney there in 8th place on the recovery as well. Slightly longer stationary time for him. I'm sure he had to get the car repaired as well. Tim Ellis behind them as well. And I remember Ellis was the one that Gomez made contact with at Stowe in the early stages. The leaders very close together now. Dobbelsberger may well now be making the move for the lead. No, he's not. He definitely had a look into Stowe Corner, but this is going to be it now to the end of the race. There'll be 2 laps to go when they come across the stripe, and the top 3 are absolutely glued together. The feature race win could come down to any one of these 3. 2 laps to go then. We're on board with Dronsma, who's been battling away in that 3rd place spot. Had a fight with Danny Henney in the early stages, but he's now caught back on to the top 2. And Stephen Williams, who has led this race from the outset, from pole position, apart from the lap where he came into the pits, and has been dealing with that pressure from Alexander Dobbelsberger all race long. And Dobbelsberger Well, he might well run out of tricks soon. If he's got any DRS left, surely he's going to be using it now. Williams has to go defensive into Brooklyn's corner. Can Dobbelsberger, he's tried this move before, but he's now going all the way around the outside. That'll give him the high ground for Luffield, and Alexander Dobbelsberger takes the lead of the feature race at Silverstone. He has been building up to that for 16 laps, and he's finally made it stick. But it's not over yet, because Stephen Williams surely is going to be coming back at Dobbelsberger, looking up the inside into Cobb's corner, side by side through there, and with only a lap and a half to go. Drolsman trying to find his way into this as well, trying to make it a 3-wide scenario. He may well sneak past Williams here. He's trying to get around the outside. That's unbelievable. Williams just about hangs on to it, and that has given Dobbelsberger a bit of a break. Down the hanger straight once again then. Dobbelsberger has cleared off in the meanwhile. He's almost got a 1 second lead now. Williams trying to keep his second place spot now as Jonesworth trying to get around the outside of Stowe Corner. He spies an opportunity here to take advantage of Williams, and that is a sensational move from Alex Jonesma to get around the outside, under braking into the Vale chicane as well, consolidates that move. And Stephen Williams, who has led this race from pole position, now finds himself in 3rd place as we're now on the final lap. Williams not giving up the fight just yet though, absolutely underneath the rear wing of Alex Jonesworth as they head through Abbey and Farm, and now braking for the loop complex as well. Look at this, setting himself up here and taking that wider line into the left-hander, making sure he gets the drive out of here through Aintree and on to the Wellington straight for the last time. Surely Johnsworth's going to have to go defensive here into Brooklands. He doesn't go defensive, gives Williams the line into Brooklands corner. Interesting tactic there. They're side by side, but Johnsworth holds the high ground for Luffield, and he is able to maintain 2nd place there. This is music to the ears of Alexander Dobbelsberger, meanwhile, who's now 1.5 seconds clear of these guys, and this battle could go all the way down to the checkered flag. Through Cobb's corner for the last time. Surely there's only a couple of opportunities left for Stephen Williams here. He'll have to follow him through Maggots and Beckett's, but there may well be an opportunity down the hanger straight into Stowe, maybe under braking for the chicane at the last corner, or the last sequence of corners. How close is Williams here, riding on board with the multiple F3 race winner, getting right in that slipstream. If he's got any DRS yet left, he's got to use it now. Can't do it into Stowe Corner. Can he get up the inside into the Vale chicane? He might not be close enough. I don't think he is close enough. This is going to be a sensational battle that comes through with Drosma coming out on top. But for the race win, he worked so hard for it. Alexander Dobbelsberger, back-to-back victories in the Missed Apex iRacing Formula Renault 3.5 Championship. That was some drive. Alex Jonesberg hangs on to 2nd place in the end there. Stephen Williams. That'll be, I'm sure, very, very frustrating for him, having led this race from the outset. An absolutely sensational performance nonetheless. But Alexander Dobbelsberger joins us now doing his signature donuts. Alex, you really had to work hard for that one.
Oh, wow, yeah. I knew Stephen had all the pace, more than me probably. So I tried to go with him for most of the race and try to go for the pit stop for the overcut. But that didn't work out, but I got him in the end.
I mean, everyone's been saying the dirty air in these cars, particularly at Silverstone, it's really, really tough. But you were following Williams throughout that entire race.
Yeah, I was basically lifting and coasting to trying to keep the tires cool enough to keep following him. I knew as soon as I lose him, the guys behind him would probably caught up to me. So yeah, that was priority number 1, and it worked.
That's sensational. And of course, back-to-back victories for you after the win at Nürburgring as well. But now you've got to do it from 20th. What do you think is going to be possible?
Oh, it's gonna be very hard to get in the top 10 even, I think.
Yeah, it's been very, very tight. Well, we look forward to seeing you trying to come through the field. Alex, congratulations. Sensational win.
Thank you very much.
Okay, let's take a look at the results then from the feature race round 2 of the Missed Apex iRacing Formula Renault 3.5 Championship from Silverstone. Alexander Dobbsberger takes his first feature race win, a second win overall of the season. Alex Jones on the podium for the first time this season, I believe, and Stephen Williams, having led that race, ends up in third in the end, only 1.3 seconds covering the top three. Lucas Raskovitz takes the gold class win in the end there, so a sensational effort in the closing stages of that race to pass both Greenhow and Smithy. Danny Henney consolidating in fifth place there in the end. Tim Ellis recovering to sixth. Power, a little recovery of his own after an opening lap contact in seventh. Scott Tuffy, brilliant result for him there in eighth place ahead of Daniel Snorterland, who takes the silver class win on his debut in the championship. Jose O'Donnell rounds out the top 10. Then comes Mark Greenhow, Colin Ward, Alex Smith, Andrew Sexton, Sam Harper, then David Hatton. Ivan Anderson there in 17th place. Richard Spanners ready alongside Matt Trumpets. That'll be the top three of the grid for the sprint race. But on reverse grid pole position will be Gregoire Gomez in 20th place there. So not sure what happened to him right at the end of the race there. But that has put him on pole position for the next race, which will be coming up very shortly.